여러분 안녕하세요. 한국어를 가르치는 윤랩이에요. 오징어 게임 봤어요? Squid Game is played on a field, but children have to go to academy after school. And as they have smartphones, it's almost impossible to see children running around in the playground. Fortunately, a few days ago I heard the news that children are enjoying the game, although the drama is very dark. I was glad to hear this change. Today you will learn Korean and Korean culture with the Squid Game, especially with 줄다리기, tug of war. Okay, OX quiz time. Number 1. 줄다리기 was an Olympic sport. Yes, O. Take a look at top right. 줄다리기 was an official sport in the early Olympic Games as a tug-of-war from 1900 Paris to 1920 Antwerp, Belgium. Let's start now. The video will start at 46 minutes of episode 4. Look at this picture. These people are getting on the elevator to get to the match place. Here, the old man number 1 is encouraging his teammates by sharing his knowledge and wisdom about 줄다리기. The old man says, 너무 기죽지들 마라. Don't be discouraged. You probably know the plural suffix 들 after nouns and pronouns, such as 친구들 and 그 사람들. However, in this sentence, 들 is attached to the end of the verb. This is the case, 들 is used as a particle. The particle 들 is attached to nouns, adverbs, and connecting endings such as 아, 게, 지, 고 to indicate that the omitted subject is plural. For example, 안녕들 하세요. 어서들 와. 다들 갔어요? 싸우지들 마. 책 읽고들 있어. I have a question. What is 기? The old man said, 너무 기죽지들 마라. 기 is hard to translate into other languages. In general, it is translated as spirit, energy. Precisely, it is the power to action and the energy that comes out when breathing, and the power that is the source of all things. This is K-drama 도깨비, Goblin. Can you feel their 기? 기 reminds me of the movie Star Wars. May the Force be with you. 포스가 함께 하길. I think this force is a very similar concept to 기. Both force and 기 are the source of power and energy that flows through everything in the universe, that has a bright side and a dark side. There are many idiomatic phrases using 기. 기가 살다, 기가 나다 is to rise the momentum without being discouraged. 기를 펴다 is to be free from the oppression or difficult situation. On the other way, 기가 죽다, 기가 꺾이다 is to be discouraged. 기가 막히다 and 기가 차다 literally mean the energy is blocked and the energy is full. However, these idioms can be used both positively and negatively. Positively, it means amazing. For example, 음식이 기가 막히네요. 기막힌 생각이에요. 춤을 기차게 추네요. And also negatively, it means at a loss for words. For example, 기가 막혀서 말이 안 나오네. And also you can say, 기가 차서 말이 안 나오네. And the old man says, 줄다리기는 힘으로만 하는 게 아니야. And the angry young man says, 힘으로 하는 게 아니면요. 줄다리기를 발로 합니까? This young man is very upset and annoyed because this helpless old man is on his team. Him is translated into strength, power, and energy in English. For example, 힘이 하나도 없어. 힘 있는 정치인, 힘이 센 씨름 선수. 씨름 is Korean wrestling, wearing sappa. Sappa literally means thigh band. Look at them. Can you make a word for arm wrestling in Korean? Yes. 팔 씨름. 어제 힘쓰다가 손목을 다쳤어. 힘이 없을 땐 뭐 좀 먹어야 해. Anyway, please look at the sentence ending. The old man said, blah blah, 아니야. And the young man said, 아니면요? Or 합니까? Did you catch something different? The old man is speaking down to the people in the elevator, and people are using honorifics even though they are angry with the old man. Why? Yes, it's because he is older than the others, even though he is powerless old man. In Korea, people respect the senior citizen because they are old. William Butler Yeats and Coen brothers said, no country for old men. 노인을 위한 나라는 없다. But I'd like to say, 노인을 위한 나라는 있다. The old man says again, 줄다리기는 작전을 잘 짜고 단합만 되면 힘이 모자라더라도 이길 수가 있어. Yes, it's true. In tug of war, teamwork is very important, like the other sports. One more OX quiz. 줄다리기 is registered on the intangible cultural heritage of humanity. Yes? Oh. Let me explain shortly. In 2015, Cambodia, Philippines, Vietnam, and Korea were jointly registered it on the intangible cultural heritage. Look at the name, tagging rituals and games. It's said as rituals, not war. Can you guess the reason? You can read the introduction. It starts like this. Tagging rituals and games in the rice farming cultures of East Asia and Southeast Asia are enacted among communities to ensure abundant harvest and prosperity. Yes, since tug of war was a festival to pray for abundant harvest, it was a ritual. Look, depending on the scale of the game, from tens to hundreds or even thousands people participated. So, the traditional rope is large and heavy, and small ropes are stretched from side to side on this mother rope. There is an interesting story. 줄다리기 was held over several days because it was a ritual festival, so winning was not important. Before the game, people designate the ropes as a female rope and male rope and connect those two ropes. It symbolizes abundance through the union of men and women. In this sense, it was believed that the female rope had to win for a good harvest that year. The whole community tactfully accepted it. At that time, the main character, number 456, says, 무슨 말인지 얘기나 들어보죠. The old man says, 내가 소싯적에 고향에서 줄다리기를 꽤 해봤는데 웬만해서는 진 적이 없었어. 웬만해서는 can be translated as usually, for the most part, and easily. And it's always used with the negative adverb 안. For example, 전 웬만해서는 화 안 내요. 저는 웬만해서는 낮에 잠을 자지 않아요. 현우는 건강해서 웬만해서는 감기에 안 걸려요. 민수는 게을러서 웬만해서는 일을 안 해요. It means you have to offer him a really good job and then he will work. 우선 제일 앞에 선 사람이 중요해. 그 사람은 상대편의 얼굴을 가장 가까이서 마주보는 사람이고 나머지 팀원들이 모두 그의 뒷모습을 보는 사람이니까 그 사람이 약해 보이거나 기가 꺾여 보이면 그땐 이미 승패는 끝나버려. 그리고 제일 뒤에는 마치 배의 닷처럼 듬직한 사람이 맡아줘야 돼. You can make the phrases 제일 plus noun, adjective, adverb, such as 제일 뒤, 제일 예뻐요, 제일 빨리. Try to translate what's your favorite movie? 제일 좋아하는 영화가 뭐예요? Or 무슨 영화를 제일 좋아해요? And also there is a very poetic expression. 마치 배의 닷처럼, like an anchor of a ship. 마치 블라블라처럼 means as if. 마치 태풍의 눈처럼 고요했어요. 마치 정치인처럼 말해요. 마치 귀신 본 사람처럼 떨고 있었어요. The old man says, 그리고 사람을 배치하는 게 중요한데 줄을 사이에 놓고 한 명씩 오른쪽, 왼쪽으로 나눠서 서는 거야. 두 발은 11자로 똑바로 놔. 줄은 겨드랑이 사이에 끼고 그래야 힘을 제대로 받을 수가 있어. Let me give you a secret. Look at the pictures. The traditional Korean 줄다리기 usually follows the tactics and strategies suggested by the old man. However, in international competitions, most teams play in a line on one side. Shh. Now let's talk about 제대로. 제대로 means properly, completely, authentic, politely, with many meanings. You can use 제대로 like this. 이 단어를 제대로 발음하고 싶어요. 제대로 된 한국 음식을 먹고 싶어요. 제주도를 제대로 보려면 한라산에 올라가야 돼요. This is his last advice. 마지막으로 이게 제일 중요한 건데 신호가 울리고 처음 10초는 그냥 버티는 거야. 이때 자세는 눕는 자세. 아랫배를 하늘로 쭉 밀어 올리고 머리는 뒷사람의 사타구니를 볼 수 있을 정도로 힘껏 제쳐. 그러면 웬만해서는 안 끌려가. 그렇게 10초만 버티면 이상하다. 왜 안 끌려오지? 하고 상대편이 당황을 해. 분명 자기네들이 더 셀 거라고 믿었을 테니까. 그렇게 버티다 보면 상대편 호흡이 깨지는 순간이 분명 올 거야. 당겨! 시청해 주셔서 감사합니다. 다음 시간에 만나요.